Hi folks, this seminar series is about getting your big game from the field to the freezer. My partner guide and Bass Pro Angler, John Blank, has over 25 years of experience in the meat cutting industry. John has processed over 1,000 elk, deer, and moose in his career. John gave this seminar at Cabela's in Tulalip, Washington. John will share tips and techniques to help you get your harvest from the field to the freezer without loss. In part 1 of this 4-part series, John will talk about being prepared before the hunt. Pay special attention to the information he provides about the field bag. You never want to go into the field without those essential tools.
I'm owner-operator of John's Northwest Outdoors. Today I'm going to talk to you about taking your game from the field to the freezer. So let's take a look at today's topics. Number 1, I'm going to talk about the preparation before the hunt. You know, we do a really good job as hunters sighting in our gun, going to Cabela's and getting our camo, but do we plan for when that animal's on the ground and how we're going to handle it? So preparation before the hunt. I'm going to talk about after the shot. What happens after the shot? Going to talk about field dressing the animal. Going to talk about skinning the animal. Going to talk about how to quarter it. Going to talk about home care. And this is one area where many hunters fail once they've harvested the animal to take care of the meat properly. So I'll talk to you about how to take care of it at home. We'll talk about aging the meat properly. Talk about processing, and then I'll do a hands-on demonstration where I'll process up a goat. We'll plan like it's an animal down on the field. We'll pull the legs off, pull the loin meat off, so you feel confident when you're out in the field and you get an animal down, you can handle it even if you're by yourself. So being prepared before the hunt, and there's some essential tools that you need to carry in your fanny pack or in your day pack, no matter anytime you leave the vehicle, to ensure that your meat's handled properly in the event you put an animal on the ground. So, excuse me, first and foremost, you need to have a skinning knife with you. And I'll walk you through my fanny pack of all the items that I carry and why I carry them. And there's different brands and stuff that you guys can definitely choose to use. I'll talk to you why I use the items that I use. They don't take up a lot of space, but it can make the difference of what you have in this bag from losing a large portion of the meat on your animal because you weren't able to handle it properly, or being able to salvage all the meat and have a good experience once you got that animal down on the ground. So you're going to need a skinning knife to pull the hide off, and you got to have the right tool for the job. You don't want to use a pocket knife to skin. There's a reason why they're called a skinning knife, and I'll walk you through that. A small folding knife, that's going to be for more detail. Okay, that's going to be for pulling the entrails out of the animal, getting up into the chest cavity. And the last thing you want to have is a big Bowie knife in your hand reaching up there, because what happens? Your adrenaline's going, you're not in good working conditions, and guess what? That big knife makes big errors. And if you're 5 miles away from the truck by yourself down in the bottom of a ravine, and that knife slips and hits your opposite hand and you lay your hand open, you run the risk of not making it out of the woods. So there's a reason why we use the right knife for the right job. Next one's latex gloves. I had a lot of people early on laugh at me when I would dive into my fanny pack, you know, and I'd pull out my latex gloves. Oh, you afraid to get your hands dirty? Well, I've been in the meat business for 25 years. I understand what bacteria can do, especially when it contaminates your meat. When you're field dressing that animal, especially if you didn't get the headshot or you didn't get it perfect behind the shoulder, and now we got some stomach matter opened up or some of the intestines, and you're reaching your hands down in there and you're field dressing that animal, or worse yet, I'm as guilty as anybody. I've hit the stomach with my knife, going and field dressing it and open it up. I want to get that contaminant off my hands as soon as possible. Well, oftentimes I don't have a 3-compartment sink to wash my hands out in the woods. So this is a quick way where I can clean my hands, turn the gloves inside out, and I'm done once I've field dressed it. So as I go to start quartering the animal, I'm not taking the guts and I'm putting that on my clean meat. So super light, definitely a necessity there. Game bags. You want to keep your animal as clean as possible. And I've processed thousands of elk and deer. And I'll be honest with you, it's an embarrassment to see the lack of cleanliness that comes in and how dirty some of the animals are for the hunters. Once they pull the trigger, pull the hide off, pull the guts out, they think their job's done. And today I'm going to teach you what we need to do to make sure you get the best yield out of the product. Game bags will protect your meat, keep the insects off of it, keep the dirt and the leaves and everything off of the meat so you have the best chance possible to get the best yield. You need to have rope with you. You want to start the cooling process as soon as possible once that animal's down on the ground. Okay, if you have no way to hang it up, there's no way for the air to start circulating around it and to chill that animal down. So rope comes in super handy also for an emergency situation. If you're hunting moose or you're hunting elk, you definitely want to have some type of a Wyoming saw with you. I'll walk you through my fanny pack here in a second and pull mine out and show you how compact it is. But it'll allow you to cut through, like on an elk, you can knock off the foreshanks, remove the hooves. You don't want to have to pack that out. It'll allow you to cut the head off. In certain areas, like up in Alaska, you got to pull the rib meat out. So when I quarter that animal, I'm going to be taking all the bone out with me so there's no waste. You're going to want some type of saw and cleaver. I'm not real keen on a cleaver and swinging an axe. There's too much damage that can happen if you're not experienced in doing it. So I strongly recommend the Wyoming saw. And probably one of the most overlooked pieces of equipment in anybody's bag is a cut-safe glove. Okay, your hands are bloody, you're tired, you put an animal down on the ground. Now I'm starting to work with knives, and you know, I've been in the meat business for 25 years and I got all 10 on me, and there's a reason why. It's because I wear a cut-safe glove. No matter if I'm field dressing an animal, no matter if I'm quartering it, anytime I have a knife in my hand, in my opposite hand, I have a cut-safe glove, and I'll talk to you about those in my bag. And then the last thing that you should have in your bag with you is zip ties, okay? You can see with my latex gloves, I carry some zip ties. I can tie off the bladder as I pull that through the pelvic area to ensure nothing gets on the animal. String works as well. If I harvested, say, a cow elk, and I need to put my tag on it, zip ties come in really handy. They're super light. Something breaks on my pack, I have it all right here. So highly recommend it. So you look at this list and you say, "Gall, that's a lot of items." Well, anytime I leave the truck, this is my fanny pack I take. Whether I'm in Montana hunting elk, around here hunting elk, this is my don't leave home without it and core essential items. So I talked about game bags. Okay, so here's what I do to my game bags. I take them from this size in my pack, I run them through my vacuum packer, and you can see how tight and compact, lightweight, and waterproof my game bags are. I have my rope. I carry 50 feet of parachute cord in my pack all the time. I also run it through my vacuum packer. It's going to keep the rope dry, clean, and it's going to reduce the space inside my bag. I do the same thing with my first aid and survival kit. So it's always clean. It's ran through a vacuum packer. It's not taking up a lot of space. I carry a stainless steel cut-safe glove like this, and you'll see me wear it a little later on today. But they do make some Kevlar gloves here. It's a fillet knife glove. You can puncture through it, but you can't cut through it. The stainless steel one you cannot puncture through. Well, you can, but it's going to take a lot of force. So that's a great item, super light to have in your bag. Then I have my Wyoming saw. I talked to you about having a saw in the field. Let me show you real quick how fast this saw goes together. There's 2 blades that come with it. Cabela's sells them here. So there's 3 pieces. You got the handle, you got the cross member. This goes down like that. The blade attaches right on here, and let me adjust it. That's how quickly this saw goes together. Now I can cut through any elk, any moose, any deer, and get it quartered down. Survival situation, I need to cut a meat pole. I need to work on shelter. It also comes with a blade for cutting wood. So this is an extremely good investment if you're going to hunt big game, especially if you hunt by yourself, where you're going to be dealing with the animal yourself and not have someone else help you move it around. Definitely suggest to get a Wyoming saw. Then we'll talk about knives. So I carry a couple of knives on mine. Number 1 is a skinny knife. And you could use whatever brand that you like to use. I use a very small one, like this. And I use it because it fits in my hand really nice. Skinning knife is generally going to be a thicker metal knife. It's going to have more of a curve on it, and it's there to pull the skin away. You're not cutting through the hair. You're cutting on the inside of the hide from the meat, and you're separating it. This, I can do an elk, moose, deer, no problem with this knife right here. Now, Gerber, if I buy a knife, I like Gerber steel myself. It holds an edge well. Buck knives are very good, but they're hard to keep a good edge on the knife. All of mine, I could take it right down my arm and shave the hair right off, and they stay very sharp. But Gerber knife has a knife kit like this, where you do have the small knife for doing your field dressing, and you have a larger knife here that also has a field dressing hook. That's an option, but there's lots of different varieties out there. Kershaw makes some good ones. I found this little knife. I got it through the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation and just fell in love with it. And then the other knife I use that I carry with me is a simple folding lockback knife that I can get down around the pelvic area. I can use to field dress the animal. It fits nice in my hand. It's not slippery. One thing I want to talk to you about with your knives is there's a lot of tactical knives out there right now that have big, deep serrades on them with really very minimal blade on your knife. It's not practical for big game hunting. It's very difficult to sharpen those serrades. It looks cool, but you want a solid blade knife, both for your skinning and your field dressing knife. So those are the 2 I carry. I do also carry a backup utility knife on my pack. It's also a Gerber. This is an item if I need to cut rope and work around the camp. I use a separate knife because the last thing I want to do is have my 2 most important knives when that animal's on the ground not be as sharp as possible, because it's going to make my job a lot tougher.
All right, guys, that's some great information to get you ready for your big game hunt. Make sure you move on to part 2, where John will talk about the preparation before the hunt.